Hello everyone, this is Hazel bringing to you an exciting, intriguing, invigorating, alliterative commentary this week for Commentator Idol. This week will be a historical commentary, so for those of you who don't really know what that is, we won't be saying anything about the Congress of Vienna or the Battle of Waterloo. What we're going to be looking at is a game from 2006, Savior versus Now Raw. Oh, there are lurkers coming out actually. This is a good counter to the Zealot +1 Zealot push. I think Savior might have scouted it. Now the leg speed is up. Will Savior be able to just prevent this? He has a few Zunkens. Will he be ready is the thing. Savior is... But there are Archons, and I don't know if this one lurker... Oh, that one lurker has so little health. Will it go down? It needs to burrow right now. Burrow, Mr. Lurker, burrow. And it looks like Savior will be okay, but Server is out, so I don't know if he'll be able to force this Nexus to go down. That's also a very good idea. And this expansion looks like it's going to go down. Also, the Spire will go down, so that'll be dangerous for Savior too, especially if he wants to get Mutas to snipe Templar. And wow, alright, those Mutas just completely died to those Archons. Mutas are not a good idea against Archons. Savior needed Hydras, and he has Hydras, but he GG's. Wow, good play by Naura. So now Naura has gone for so many Zealots, committed so many resources into Zealots, but he's not really able to do anything with them. Now he is going for Citadel, and he is going to go for leg upgrades probably. Or maybe Templar. He can also transition into Templar from this build. And this is what I also like about these older builds. They are one base. Some of them are one base. I think partially the reason behind that is because of the map, how the maps are built. Nowadays the map makers all love macro games apparently, so they make the natural very easy to secure. In this case the natural is not as easy to secure, so we get some interesting games. He's built a cannon. Maybe Savior will be able to do a run by though. This could be so clever by Savior if he just gets past these Zealots. Don't get caught up by the Zealots, Savior. Don't get caught up. No, Savior. No. Savior just left. Oh my gosh, this could be so close. The Zealots are in Savior's base, and Savior is in Nalra's base. Or actually, he's on Nalra's ramp, but that's very different. If the hatchery goes down, though, that might be so dangerous. Those Zerglings are going down because of that cannon, and so many probes are just out there looking for revenge on those Zerglings. But will it work? Savior looks like he'll be able to secure his expansion. He is safe, while Nara is not safe, but also needs to just do, I don't know, protect his own expansions. He lost last game because of that, but I don't know if he will lose this game. He is doing so much damage to the main base. He's preventing mining. He only took down cannons thus far, though, so that's something to watch out for. He's only taken out cannons. He hasn't taken out that many probes yet. We'll have to see him take down a lot more probes, and he is. Savior is taking down a whole lot of probes. So good job, Savior. He is able to just dodge those Archons. Look at that really nice Muta micro. He will be able to snipe off this Archon too. The Archon goes down right when it spawns too. So that's a poor little Archon that never got the chance to live. Just completely just going straight for it. He's going straight for the throat. He doesn't care if Archons do splash damage. His Mutalisks don't care. His Mutalisks are Savior Mutalisks. They're Mache Yun's Mutalisks. So good job to Savior. He's doing such a good job. I didn't actually think that Mutalisks would work, but maybe it did just because Nala didn't have the army to deal with it. He had 2 Archons at most, and Savior had, I don't know, 8 Mutalisks. So his early econ economic harass seemed to be really effective. But now, look at this. Savior is going to get this hatchery killed again because he just doesn't build Sunkens. He doesn't, you know, just support his bases with units. This could be very bad for him. Except Nalra is not moving his Zealots, so he's fine, actually. Never mind. Never you mind. So Savior's base might be safe, and just by concentrating on here, I think he can win the game. Savior is doing a really great job. He's just confronting those Archons with Mutalisks alone. He doesn't need Hydras. Screw unit counters. Just fly in there with Mutalisks. Take out these Zealots and secure his expansion and get so many more minerals. And there is GG from Naura. Good game to Savior.
Okay, yeah, so first of all, I was very pleasantly surprised about your analysis about the map, about the older maps, that they don't have that good of mineral natural expansion, sorry. So that was very good. Now, the thing is, your knowledge of the game is very good. The only problem is you never really take a stand, and that leads to you making mistakes. So sometimes you make very good comments. I think, yeah, she's got it now. It's all good, and then you start doubting yourself. Is this right? Like with the lurkers in the first game. Is he going hydralisks? No lurkers. No wait, he's just going to make the one lurker. No wait, he's got two lurkers. Oh dear. And now he's got mutalisks. What's happening? And you start guessing, and that's kind of bad. But because he did get those lurkers, because he had only been using Zergling, so he had a huge cache of gas stored up. And that leads to the other thing that you don't really see when the game's going to end. One of the painful things I noticed was when Savior had like a cinematic sized group of mutalisks just wasting away Nalra's base, he was still going on about how Savior might actually lose the game. And that was like, no, he's just destroyed the Nexus. I think it might be over for Nalra right now. So yeah, my question is, are you not confident enough because it was an old game, or did you actually see the game ending, but were you too, I don't know, unsure to actually say, okay, the game's going to end now?
Well, a lot of my viewers, I guess, have commented on the fact that if I say GG too early, a lot of them are just very unhappy because you stop analyzing. You can do post-game analysis for a while, but if the game drags on, a lot of the viewers themselves are very dissatisfied with the, I don't know, the early call. So I try to avoid early calls. I'm pretty sure, like, when Savior had the Mutalisk, I think it was the second game that you're referring to, with his Mutalisk all over the Archons and the Nexus, I knew that the game was over, but I just didn't want to, you know, cue it in too early. A lot of viewers get really unhappy with that.
Well, I think if you do not say that the game is going to end, it sort of looks like you're not sure. I think it's better, like when it's really just very clear that there's not going to be any coming back from Nalra. It's alright to say, okay, GG, it's over.
Hi Hazel. Yeah. You know, for me, watching your commentaries, when I watched Morph's commentaries, it was a little bit like watching the movie 300, where I saw the trailers, I got really excited, I went in and just came out feeling that I'd almost wasted my time. Whereas with your commentaries, I went in and it was like watching The Matrix, where I didn't know anything about that movie before I went into it, but I was completely blown away by it. Yeah, I think the one of the key things that you had that often commentators just don't have is that you were entertaining to listen to, and for me that is the biggest barometer about whether or not a commentator is good or not. Do they make the VOD more entertaining to watch than had I not seen it, had I seen the Korean commentary? So that's a great thing. Now, firstly, I want to say I actually hate Cholera for putting Greth before me in this queue, and I hate Greth for basically saying everything that I was going to say and asking the very question that I was going to ask you, because the reality is you do have great knowledge, you have great color, and you gave such a fantastic opening. You were referencing the history of the game with previous games, you were tying it all in together, you really had the complete package, and I felt that a lot of the criticism you came in for was unduly harsh. And since Greth already asked you about the confidence, I want to ask you if you feel that some of the comments you're getting maybe from the judges or from the YouTube comments, are they affecting your confidence, or is it something that you kind of have had a problem with before?
Well, I feel like whenever I get a comment, it's very difficult to just adapt my speaking style. Like, I know there are a lot of problems, just like I have certain verbal tics, like I say this could be really dangerous or stuff like that, and it helps to realize when I have these speaking tics, because I can try to change it, but mostly comments have been really constructive. Some of them are kind of disheartening, but there are a lot of other comments to balance those out.
Yeah, but you definitely need to do what Gret suggested, which is take a stand, because you seem to have the knowledge about it. Because when there were 2 or 3 times where near the end, again in that second game, where the Mutalisks were killing tons of probes, and you saw the 5 Zealots, and you should never try to artificially generate excitement or suspense in a game. That will be the one biggest piece of advice I can give to you. You should never feel that you need to do that. Call it like it is, call it like you see it, make a stand and stand behind it, and let the naysayers have their say. In the end, if you're right, you're right, and people will respect you for that. And again, it was the same thing with the initial build order where you saw the I think this was the second game where you saw the early assimilator and you saw the forge and you knew it was going to be +1 zealots. So just make the call. The moment you see it, make the call because you have the game knowledge, and I think that you have a good chance of being the surprise package in this competition and winning from behind. And I want to stress, I'm not just saying this because you're a girl, because I'm the first person who complains and moans about girls getting stuff just because they're girls or getting credit because they're girls when they're not actually good enough.
Thank you, Klazart. And we'll be moving on to Rise and Peanut.
First question I got for you is, would you wash Savior's dirty laundry?
No.
That's funny because I got a completely different impression from watching your commentary, considering you were probably more of a Savior fangirl than Klazart is a Savior fanboy, which I didn't think was possible, but you did just prove me wrong. Really, the entire time I was watching your commentary, I could not believe the amount of times you said, "Wow, Savior, he's doing such a good job!" Huh? It was like it was kind of the most awkward stuff that I have heard in a commentary in so long. And your fake, I gotta be honest, it sounded like fake excitement. I mean, maybe it was just because you were so happy to be watching Savior play or live or breathe. I don't know what it was, but the entire time I was watching, I didn't feel like I was watching a game of StarCraft being commentated. I felt like I was watching Savior's mom tell her best friend how good Savior is. The fact that you're a huge Savior fangirl is fine, but sometimes you want to keep that sort of stuff buried in the closet, not in the middle of a commentary, especially one that is so big in terms of this competition being in the final three. And I felt that it just wasn't the level of professionalism that I've seen in your past commentaries.
Yeah, in response to that, I'd just like to say that I felt like part of the reason why this commentary in particular was important was because it was a historical commentary. And what's really interesting here is that it is Savior versus Naura. Naura now is a commentator, and Savior now is on a 9-win streak. So I think I don't know, I was just trying to tie things together, just bring the modern StarCraft back to the past StarCraft and see how Savior once was, and kind of maybe show the viewers what he once was and what he could be in the future. I wasn't that aware of Savior bias. Maybe I have to go re-listen to my commentaries, because during the time I wasn't, like, maybe I just know more about Savior and I have more of an inclination to talk about him, talk about his game style. I'll try to avoid that in the future, but really I'll just re-listen, I guess, and try to see where the bias is and try to tone it down.
All right, fair enough. I mean, normally when I see a commentary that we're doing and one player, if I'm doing a dual commentary, for instance, if one of the commentators is severely biased towards another player, for instance, the game of Hyuk versus whoever it was, Hyuk versus anyone pretty much, and the bias is always towards the other player, I'll make sure to throw in some fake bias to Hyuk, because really it makes it a little bit more interesting, and it doesn't make the game kind of useless to commentate in the first place. But when you have two well-known, very good players, you can't do that. You can't just the entire time, completely bias your views towards one of the two players when either one could certainly take the game. That's why they're in the finals, because they both are that good at that level where they can win the finals.
Yeah, so I'll keep this short. I also felt a little bit let down this week by your commentary, and I'm not sure exactly why the poetic fire seemed to go out of your commentating style, but it kind of did this week. What I really look for from you is just moments where you make analogies, or where you compare, or where you have a specific turn of phrase that just make me stop and think, wow, that is the way to say it, and nobody else could have said it like Hazel said it. So I don't know, maybe this was an off week, but I really hope that you bring those moments back. But overall, great job.
Peanut, you can't take this from a commentator. You can't do that every game.
Right, I was just gonna say, I think this week might have been a little weirder, just because it's a live commentary, and I was really nervous. I don't know if you guys could tell, probably. But yeah, it's just kind of hard to do analogies every game. I try to think of them beforehand, but that doesn't really work. So hopefully I'll be able to think on the fly more in the future.
Thank you very much, judges, and we'll be moving on right now to take a look at how she did on the Cholera Test, coming up right now. First question, before Stork, which player was known as the King of Silver for his frequent second place finishes?
NC Yellow.
Question 7, there are 4 players in StarCraft history who have won 3 MSL titles each. Name 3 of them, and you can have 4 tries.
Savior. Bishu. Man. Not Stork, not Flash. MSLs. Let's guess, Nada and I Love Uvi.
Very nice. You got all 4.
Wow.
Question 8. Say Bako is playing Jaedong, and he has unupgraded Zealots fighting Jaedong's fully upgraded Ultras, which have 6 armor. How much damage will his Zealot do in one full attack to the Ultralisk?
Oh darn. Wait, how much armor was it? 6?
6 armor.
6 armor, and it takes 3 hits. I'm gonna say 10 damage? No, that doesn't even make sense. I don't know, 10.
Okay. All right, Hazel, you did the best out of the 3 contestants by far in the pro gaming trivia section. You got 8 out of 10 right, so good job there. But you know, I do have a couple of questions that I didn't ask you at that time. First off, do you know how? You still said that, you know, even after I was trying to point out that you would need a two factories for a Vulture run-by build off of one base, which we've seen so often. You still said that it's generally one factory, or you said, you know, normally it's one factory. Do you still think that it's usually one factory, or I mean, just can you think of some games where that's been done and exactly what the build has been for the Vulture run-by question?
Well, the reason why I probably said one factory is because I was kind of influenced by a game that I saw really recently, which is a game that our ace player played in the Princeton versus MIT match. So basically what he did there, he built a proxy factory and then got a Vulture as soon as possible to run it into the base. So he didn't really get the 2 machine shops and wait for the upgrades, the Vulture upgrades. And I think that's also a viable option. You can go for the Vulture without upgrades and surprise as early as possible, or you can go for the 2-fac with 2 machine shops, get mines, get upgrades, the speed upgrade, and then run in. But the second option with the factories, it's usually scouted out in my prior experience of looking at this build. Usually the Zerg player finds out what's happening, builds a Sunken, and it doesn't work as well. So that's probably why I was leaning towards the 1 factory, but I think the 2 factory is probably more popular.
Okay, that's fair enough. Obviously, there's a huge difference between what an amateur can get away with and what is on the pro level, which is what most of your commentators will be doing. So, but fair enough. My other question is the trivia question that I'm going to be asking right now. These are all very challenging ones. So, since the other 2 went before you, you get the last one. Name the 2 most important reasons why mass Valkyries would not be good against mass battlecruisers in a nearly maxed out Terran versus Terran game.
Alright, one of the reasons is because I think the Valkyries, the little firing images won't go off. And I know this because of when I was like in 6th grade playing fastest maps and I built all Valkyries, and that's not a good idea because they don't do anything. The second reason, I'm not actually sure. Probably because battlecruisers are just better in that case. I think the resources would be better spent on battlecruisers, but I don't know if that's the answer.
Okay, fair enough. I'll give you 1.5 credit for that answer. You got the hard part right, actually. There is that glitch in StarCraft, which makes it so that if you're nearly maxed out, if there's a lot of units firing in the air, there actually won't be enough sprites generated by a limitation on the engine. So your Valkyries will actually end up not firing anything in a major battle, which is horrible, obviously. The reason why Valkyries are not that cost effective against battlecruisers, not only because of the glitch, but it's also because of their armor value as well as looking for. Battlecruisers have heavy 3 armor as their base armor, and Valkyries only deal 6 base damage per rocket, so it'll only be 3 damage per rocket. It's different against Wraiths, of course, have much lighter armor. Actually, I think they have 0 armor, so that's why Valkyries are actually quite good as a counter against Wraiths. But anyway, overall, good job. Okay, judges, what did you think about how Hazel did on the quiz and overall in terms of her StarCraft and pro gaming knowledge?
Alright, so I'll do my best to steal some questions away from Klazart again. Now, I think the test scores speak for themselves, and they just emphasize the thing I said at the start. There's no reason to doubt your knowledge. Just yeah, make the logical decisions, go with what you see. And I think then you, as a commentator, you're just still, when you're commentating, you feel like a spectator, like the rest of us watching the commentary. You're not the authority. You're not the commentator. You are the one who has to say, okay, this is going to happen, this has happened, and this guy's gonna lose. You're the authority. You have to make that clear. And when you do that, you're gonna be a fantastic commentator, and you'll be worthy of a front page spot, maybe replacing me in a while.
Alright, I guess it's my turn. Yeah, I think once again the quiz just shows how knowledgeable you actually are, and more than that, it shows how passionate you are about StarCraft. You clearly are someone who enjoys your StarCraft. You're clearly someone who watches a lot of StarCraft and is greatly involved in the community, because you knew all these little details that you wouldn't have known otherwise unless you were involved to the extent that you are. And I think again that your commentary didn't really give us an accurate reflection of your actual level of knowledge, which is quite good. My advice to you is that sometimes it's okay to be wrong, contrary to what you might have heard. I mean, we all watch sports, we all bitch at the television set going, oh my god, that commentator doesn't have a clue what he's talking about, he's a fool. You know, everyone's an armchair commentator when it comes down to it. So it's fine if you get it wrong. What a lot of people don't realize, that when you're actually commentating, you're trying to balance so many different apples and so many different balls. You're trying to juggle them at the same time. You're trying to give the play-by-play, you're trying to give analysis of the strategy, you're trying to throw in some color and some historical reference, and also some reference to the players themselves. And when that happens, sometimes it's easy to miss minor details, but also you're more likely to maybe make a tactical error or an analytical error. So don't be afraid of doing that, because where your commentary definitely fell away on this occasion was somewhere in the middle, where you were basically not really able to give your color and your entertaining commentary, but you were more focused. You would have been more focused on trying to provide analysis and anticipating how the game was going to play out and what the players might or might not do, and your lack of confidence really kind of hamstringed you there. So yeah, I mean, I do have one question for you though. What do you think about doing more duels with Kenny? I know your first experiment wasn't great, but I think you bring the entertainment, and he has you know, the in-depth technical know-how, and I think you guys would make a great team.
Yeah, we actually had a lot of fun in our first couple of dual commentaries, and I think we'll definitely do it in the future. I know that a lot of the viewers and the judges didn't really like the pairing, and they thought that whatever the chemistry wasn't good, but I think both of us enjoyed it. We have just a couple of problems with balance, but otherwise I think we would make a good team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people don't duel, you know, it's all about practice. Duels are all about practice, and I know I'm going really long here, so I apologize to Cholera for that. I really hope, just to finish, I really hope that the viewers have voted for you and have given you a chance, because I think that to have a girl who's going to be commentating regularly, who's actually good at it, I think that would be fantastic for the StarCraft scene and for esports in general.
I gotta be honest, I actually disagree with what Klazart just said. Specifically in the spirit of the contest, I don't think you being a girl should have any benefit to who votes for you. I think that's completely wrong. And really,
That's not what I meant, Rise.
Okay,
That's not what I meant.
It came
I
off
just
for sure.
Sorry. All right. Well, that's not what I meant. I just meant that, I think people are maybe being too harsh on her because she's a girl.
No, I'm being harsh on her because she's the third, she's one of three out of 17 entries left in this contest, and the game has to be stepped up at this point, and she certainly faltered a lot, and really what disappoints me the most, tying this back into I guess what I'm supposed to be talking about right now, is the fact that she did so well on the questions. She got the highest score on the test, yet it didn't come through at all in the commentary, and so again, really, I think that she's got some work to do at this point if she wants to stay in the competition and win it. She's got a lot of things she's got to work on, and whether it's her confidence or whatever it may be, she's got to make sure that she ties the fact that she has all that knowledge to the game. She can bring it out when she needs to. She's got it on the tip of her tongue when she needs it, and she just brings us a stronger commentary all over. And if she can do that, then yeah, you know what? She will bring a lot to esports, and she'll do a good job at commentating in the future for sure.
Okay, thank you. This is why we have lots of different judges. It's absolutely great to have different opinions. And final thoughts from anybody?
Yeah, again, I don't want people to misinterpret what I said. I actually do agree with Rise in that obviously there is work that Hazel needs to do. But I think if she can bring it together and work on those few and iron those problems out, I think she has a potential to be really, really good.
Hazel, I think you're caught in one sense between caught in a disadvantaged sense between two extremes, because comparisons are odious, but if I may make comparisons. So we know that Kenny, he has all the technical stuff down, and that's great. We know that Morph, he has the whole dramatic flair thing. He's a trained actor, and he has a great command of English, and sometimes he can be wacky, and that's very entertaining. And you, Hazel, you seem to be the most balanced. You have the best of both worlds, where you have solid technical knowledge, and you can also be very entertaining, and you have a wonderful command of the language. And people give me flack for going on about that, but I think it's very important for a commentator. So this balance is very important, and I really commend you for it. And although it may not make you the flashiest commentator, and although it might mean that you're not going to get the best in this whatever category or best in whatever category, I think you're really the most well-rounded. So no matter what happens with this commentator idol business, I would say to take that thought and treasure it, and keep going back to it, and just remember that you've got it all. So
Thank you, Peanut.
Thank you very much, judges and Hazel, for being here. Right now, we will take the judges' votes, and we'll have a pause right now. Okay, thank you, judges and Hazel, for coming, and this will end the review section of this episode. The judges will now be voting. They're voting just for one person this week, who they want to see move on. And right now, it is actually Monday. The recording was done on Sunday, and the voting was extended to Monday at noon. So even though I don't have the judges with me anymore, I will be revealing the results of the viewer votes and the judge votes. Now, to remind you, last week's votes are shown here. For Best Dual Commentary, Morph and Park X were actually slightly ahead of Hazel and Kenny until judge votes were counted for, and then Hazel and Kenny edged out on Morph and Park X. Within that Kenny and Hazel team, Kenny was a clear favorite over Hazel. However, within the Morph and Park X team, there was only 10 votes at the end of the day that separated Morph and Park X, which made Park X the eliminated contestant that week. This week, the votes are much more simple. There is just simply one vote, who you thought should go on. And here are the viewer votes. Kenny, Hazel, then Morph. Very clear results here. Kenny, the favorite, 115 votes. Hazel at 79, and Morph, 1081, with just 39 votes at the end of the day, with 233 votes total. Now, for the judge votes, before I announce them. Now, this week, since there is only one vote per person, we decided to lower the power of the judging votes from 30 to 20%. This was also after a lot of consideration of suggestions and comments from the viewers. And with 20%, each judge's votes counted for 15 votes. And here they are. 2 judges voted for Kenny and 2 judges voted for Hazel. Each of them receives a bonus 30 points in this week's judge votes, which leads us to these final scores. Kenny at 145, Hazel at 109, and Morph staying at 39 points. And these results are clear, which means Morph will be eliminated this week. And the final 2 are Kenny and Hazel, moving on to the finale, the best of the best, which I'll announce shortly. But before we go into more detail about that, I would like to say that Morph has done a fantastic job on this show. I think this week he was perhaps hurt by the fact that he couldn't gain the same kind of enthusiasm or reach the same kind of perhaps creativity he was able to in past commentaries, and also perhaps because of the fact that he had the lowest test scores. But I do think overall he is one of the funniest commentators out there. He has got a great sense of humor and he's got such a unique style, and I'm sure he will be going far in commentaries, and he has told me, of course, that he will continue to commentate, and I do very much look forward to watching him succeed in the future. Now, on to the final episode. This episode will take place over 2 weeks total, and it will be very different from the past episodes in a way that I hope makes many of you happy, and I think will be a lot more exciting. The final episode is called The Best of the Best. Kenny and Hazel will each cast 2 games from the Batu OSL round of 16 played on this Wednesday, February 18th, and these games truly have very top-notch players, including the well-named Best, of course, playing Flash, and Cal playing Luxury, which will be Hazel's games, and Kenny will be casting July versus Stork, and Lita versus Tester. All should be very exciting games. Here's the schedule for the final 2 weeks. On Wednesday, the games will be cast by the commentators. Over the next few days, the judges will be watching them, and after watching each game, we will be giving reviews and interviewing the contestants. I believe on Friday or Saturday, the full commentaries with our judge reviews after each of them will be released, and only then will you be able to vote on them publicly. From that Sunday to the next Saturday, there will be public voting, and finally, the next Sunday, we will have the finale with all the votes counted and with the winner of SC2GG Commentator Idol announced on that day. And finally, to reveal the final guest judges, they will be Klazart returning again, and none other than Nick Tasteless Plot. Yes, this was the surprise for the finale. Tasteless, of course, is the original and most experienced and most successful professional StarCraft commentator out there, living the dream in Korea, and we will be receiving his opinions on these commentators' videos sent all the way from Korea, Seoul, Korea, and we'll be listening to how he thinks they did. It's a real honor to have him be able to come on for the finale and give his opinions, and I am, of course, very excited to have him here. He has obviously been around for the longest, and really just has tremendous experience that all of us can learn from. So thank you very much for watching. Please do take note of that schedule and stay tuned for the commentaries, which will be coming out in just a few days. And please do go vote. There will be a whole week for you to vote. Take a look at all the judge reviews, including the 2 permanent judges, Klazart and Tasteless, and have a great week. Good luck, have fun. GG.
I love your accent.
Also, don't get too good, because then you'll be in my territory and I'll destroy you.